Good afternoon and welcome to Wednesdays with EWAT, or English with a Twist. This is Shanti Kumaraswamy Street, your business English coach. How's everyone doing? Today is lesson 49 of Wednesdays with EWAT and we are the 20th of December. So I'm just waiting to see if anyone starts coming into this lesson. I'd be delighted. Let me know if you're coming on, if you get the notification that the lesson has started. So welcome. This is our last lesson for 2017. Sad. Have you had a great time this year? And what are the plans? We have 2 weeks before the end of 2017. So what's your year been like? So don't forget, let me know as you're coming in, and today's class, which is lesson 49, we didn't quite get to lesson 50, but never mind, we can look forward to that in the new year. But in this last lesson for 2017, we're going to be reflecting on the past year, perhaps in terms of your professional life, your private life, your goals. Did you achieve the goals that you set out at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, whatever? So that's what we're going to be looking at. But more importantly, because of course we're talking English, business English, I wanted to share with you 8 synonyms that we have with the word to reflect. And we often use the preposition on with reflect, so the verb reflect on something. So if we're talking about reflections, we're going to be reflecting on the past year. So tell me where you're from. I can see people gradually coming in, and give me a thumbs up if everything is okay, whether you can hear me, you can see me. That'd be great. So we're fast approaching the shortest day in the winter calendar for any of you in the Northern Hemisphere and who experience winter. So tomorrow, 21st of December, is our shortest day. And then I think after that, then we're going to start seeing the days get longer, which is great because around this time, which is 3 p.m. GMT here in the UK, it starts getting dark, and today is rather gloomy. So hence I've got all these lights on because otherwise I just worry that I might end up in the darkness. So anyway, don't be shy. Tell me where you're from, who you are, and if you're my regulars. So don't forget, you are here at English with a Twist. I am Shanti Kumaraswamy Street, your business English coach. English with a Twist is a place where you, as a professional, use us as the community to become more confident and relaxed and comfortable using English in your business life. Hi Priya, I haven't seen you in such a long time. Lovely to see you. Now, hello from Istanbul. Now, I really have a problem pronouncing Turkish names, so I do apologize. I wonder whether you can break that down for me phonetically so I can understand that. I'm so sorry if I'm, going to mispronounce, and I don't dare mispronounce your name. So please let me know. Right, okay. So before we start, I want to talk about reflections and us reflecting on your year and looking at the other words you can use in English. I would like to share what my plans are for the next year. Hi Giovanni, Italian names are not bad. I can pronounce Italian names. Thank you. Hi Batul from Syria. Wonderful to see you here again. Right, now let's go about it's really a regular Wednesday activity for me to follow you. Oh, that's so lovely of you. Thank you so much. Sorry, as I keep dropping in, I will just say hello to everyone because I don't want you to feel ignored. You're certainly not ignored, but I do know that we have to continue with this class. I am going to ask you how your 2017 has been up to now. So we're going to be reflecting on and looking at other language and other words and verbs you can use. Now, in terms of English with a Twist, what has been happening in 2017? Some of you have been following me diligently and conscientiously since the beginning of this year, for which I thank you very much. Some of you maybe are new to Wednesdays with EWAT, new to the EWAT community, for which I say welcome, and I hope you enjoy the beginning of this wonderful journey. Well, I think it's wonderful. So we started the year, I was going to say to you, we started the year where I launched a new book, Small Talk to Go, and then we, gradually developed a number of programs that I've offered my EWAT community. My EWAT community has also grown in terms of through my blog, through my website. And as you most probably know, my blog is the main area where I share a lot of my content. You get weekly lessons if you join the EWAT community. So if you haven't joined that EWAT community, ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to do it either right this minute or at the end of this class. So, but the EWAT community has been growing steadily in the last year, and I'm really, really thankful for all of you who do that, because of course you enjoy the free resources I have, which is the weekly lessons I share with you on Fridays, this Wednesday with EWAT live lesson, which is then accessible also on the site, and also all my business idiom videos, which I upload onto YouTube and I share again on the site. Along the way, I have had a number of new coaching clients, and I've been delivering new programs, and more recently it was the Business Writing to Fluency laboratory that I launched in October. But I've had 2 books come out, Small Talk to Go and Business English Secrets. So what's planned for 2018? And here's what I wanted to tell you. So what's coming up in the next year? And it's really exciting because EWAT has been growing steadily, and now I'm really excited to tell you that I've grown to a point where I think I'm going to need a little small team to work with me. So I have a new web designer, and she's a brand strategist. So we're going to be looking at different ways that I can make the experience you have accessing EWAT much more intuitive, much more enjoyable, and where also the learning experience is much more meaningful. So I'm really looking forward to where, as we're talking, as I'm talking here, we're already planning. So first things first, what have I got planned? And I've been beavering away, as we say in the background, and we've been already putting together my different projects. So the first thing that's going to be happening middle of January, and I want you to make a note in your diary, is that I will be relaunching Small Talk to Go, that wonderful ebook that I set up, which was thanks to a lot of you who said this is the area of business English that you need most help with. You know, that small talk that occurs over business lunch, at a conference, whether you're in a training course and, you're over coffee and you just want that general chit chat, or maybe corporate hospitality where you are invited to maybe a golf day, or you are socializing with clients, you have invited your key clients, and there's that small talk. Another scenario could be where you go to clients' offices to give a presentation, and there's that small chit chat that goes on in between. So maybe as you arrive at reception and you're taken to where the meeting room is going to be, where you will put everything up to give your presentation, or maybe at the end of a presentation, and then there's that general chit chat. And quite often my clients have said to me, and you as EWATers have told me, that's the area you find most uncomfortable. That is the area that you find you lack the words, the vocabulary makes you feel outside your comfort zone. You'd rather be discussing business, but you have to be friendly, you have to create a rapport. So this is inevitable. So a lot of people say to me, this is the area that we need. So Small Talk to Go was launched, the first version was launched at the beginning of this year. And now what I'm planning to do, what I'm doing is, in the new year, I am relaunching it, and this time I'm adding an audio version, i.e. an audiobook. So you will have the ebook where I have got 5 scenarios for you to follow, to look at the different scenarios you might find yourself in. But there's also a workbook, and there will be the audiobook. So that way you get to hear the dialogue, you get to hear the conversations and how they sound, intonation, syllable stress, the rhythm of the language. So I'm really excited about that. And if you are as excited as I am, make sure you join the EWAT community, because I will then be sharing all the information in the new year with you. So that's what's coming up first thing, middle of January. That's what's going to happen. Then as we go into February, I am going to be launching, and here I am again very excited, an EWAT Planner. Now, we've been talking about plans and reflecting on our goals in the last year, and this is what we're going to be talking about more of. But you know, when I coach my clients, when I coach you, when many of you ask me for advice, you know, one of the biggest things that most of us as business people, very busy people, you know, if we are going to make a success of whatever we do, then the best thing is for us to do is to plan it. We need to plan our time, plan our weeks, our days. The better you plan, the easier things become. So often I get clients who say to me, oh Shanti, I just don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do that. You know, maybe when I've got a bit more time, I'll do it. But the problem is that none of us will ever get more time. Let's face it, it's reality. We never get more time. We'd love to have more time, but we don't. Because we are busy with our work, with our professional lives and our family lives. And there are only so many hours in a day. So the point is, what do? We need to prioritize, and we need to also plan. And I've been thinking a lot about this, because in my coaching sessions with my clients, I often set them assignments and I set them goals, and we talk about short-term goals, specific goals, and gradually building those goals as we go along. Imagine you want to run a marathon. And so you set yourself a goal, a deadline of when you're going to be running this marathon. You need to be planning for that marathon about 9 months, 12 months before. So when people say to me, oh, I want to, be better in English, okay, fine. What is the goal though first? What is your ultimate goal? Then you need to break down those goals, because I could want to run my marathon, which is 42 kilometers, but there's absolutely no way I can just run from 0 to 42 kilometers. I need to plan how I'm going to get there. So what do? You sit down and you start planning. Each week, what are you going to do? How are you going to build it? How are you going to build the training into your busy schedule? Well, English language, training your brain for business English is exactly the same. You're going to need to plan. So I thought to myself, what would really help energize, motivate you, my learners, my fellow EWATers? And I thought, how about introducing an EWAT planner? Now, it's not a yearly planner, which is, from January to December. It's open-ended. You can use it whenever. And this planner is going to give you your ability to set your goals and create your plan. It could be a weekly plan, monthly plan, annual plan, or quarterly plan. Then we're going to look at self-evaluation. So you set yourself these little goals. Work out how you're going to do them. And then evaluate how you're doing. And, I will be showing you what you can do with this planner, on how you can really make that planner work for you. Because the thing is, when you write something down on paper, it becomes a reality. When we have it all in our head, it is very easy to compartmentalize, put it into somewhere else, and completely forget about it. I'll do it another time. I'll do it another time. How many of us have always put off what we could do now? Why? Lack of time, lack of motivation. You're scared. You don't know how to start. You're not sure. The whole task seems so difficult. How am I going to get there? How am I going to do this? So, you have to really think hard about what to plan. But if you break it down into manageable tasks, things become much clearer. And I'm always telling my clients, sit down and really reflect on what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve it. And by doing that, things get easier. It's the same, like, for example, me. I'm planning of my following year. if you're running a business, you're planning your year, you're planning where you want to be, we need to sit down and think about it and put it on paper. The moment we start seeing things on paper, we have a visual view, things get easier in the sense of it is not so overwhelming. You can start breaking it down. It's not necessarily going to be a miracle, but it helps you. And so I really hope that I'm really going to look forward to having your input in terms of this EWAT planner, but this is what's going to be coming up in February. In March, I will be relaunching the Business Writing to Fluency Lab. I launched that, if some of you remember, this was in November, and I had a small group who joined, and this time I'll be extending it because I had some valuable feedback from my participants. So instead of a 2-week program, it's going to be a 4-week program. That way it gives you more time to do the assignments that I set you, and the assignments will be broken down. So it's going to be a much more manageable, again, program for you. Remember, it's using business writing to improve your fluency. So getting your structure right. And so that's going to be the relaunch. I'm having the program again in March. In April and May, I'm going to be looking at, I'm in the process of starting now. I'm going to be putting together a new book called on phrasal verbs. And I know some of you are going to go, yes, phrasal verbs. Yes, I hate phrasal verbs, and I need to. Now, phrasal verbs, I'm going to be putting them in phrasal verbs that you would find in business scenarios. So again, just like small talk, we're looking at scenarios, lunches, meetings, over the telephone, the sort of phrasal verbs you might hear and use in your business activities. So that's what's coming up in the first 5 months of 2018, and I hope you're going to be as excited as I am. I hope you're excited. Thumbs up. You're very quiet there. You're probably all listening and thinking, overwhelmed by how much I'm telling you about what's coming up. But I do hope you find this exciting. So first off was going to be small talk, okay? So we're going to be talking small talk. I'm going to get you feeling energized, motivated, and confident for all those small talk scenarios and situations that you're going to be finding yourself in 2018. So if you like this and you think that there are some colleagues and friends who would really benefit from being part of the EWAT community, do encourage them to join, because the more the merrier. And this is all about enabling and giving people the confidence to communicate much more easily and confidently in English in their business. Okay, so that was it. So I hope you're as excited as I am about 2018. This week is my last week, and then I'm going to be taking 2 weeks off. I know. No, actually, it's going to be 1 week off. But the first week in January, I'm going to be busy planning for all the stuff that I've just told you. So, I'll be beavering in the background, working on the book, and then organizing the planner, and then organizing the program for March. So lots and lots of goodies, and so I'll be keeping you posted on that. Okay, people, now I would like some participation here. So how has 2017 been for you? If you were to reflect back on your year, has it been a good year overall? Share with me in your chat box. Has it been good overall? Has it been challenging? Have you been able to achieve the goals you set up in the beginning of the year? Do you remember the goals you set up? It could be the business goals or your own personal goals. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to share with me. Well, maybe not 2 minutes, 1 minute to share with me in the chat box. In the meantime, I'm going to refresh my page on Facebook. Share with me, what were your goals? If you think back at the beginning of the year, what were your goals? Have you been able to achieve them? Or maybe partly achieve them. Hey, we don't have to achieve everything. Maybe you managed to do some. Gabby, you managed to make it for class. I'm so delighted. And thank you so much for your lovely message that you sent me via the Facebook page. Thank you. I'm so glad you made it, Gabby. So goals, my fellow EWATers, Priya, Giovanni. I know Giovanni has been very busy. He's a fellow business owner of a very successful school, and I know he's had a lot going on in this year. But in terms of your business English goals, have you been able to achieve them? Or communicating in English, has it been easier this year? You know, whatever your goals have been. I set a few goals at the beginning of the year, and I'd like to think that yes, when I look back, things have been a bit, you know, I managed to achieve them. But it's funny because as a business owner, I'm constantly thinking about all the other things I want to achieve. And often we forget to look back and reflect on our achievements. Too many times we reflect on, or we focus on the things that we did not achieve, when actually we should also look at all the good things we have done. So what have you done? Everyone's being very quiet here in the chat box. Please share with me. I know it's a busy time of year, so not as many people are online at the moment. But yes, anyone care to share with me their goals or what they're really happy about? You know, really, you know, pleased with themselves and said, you know, I managed to do that. I managed to achieve that little goal. Let's see. Oh, I've got someone new's come in, but I can't read your name because it's all in Arabic. So I'm so sorry. Hello from India. Hello, India. Yeah, so tell me. Well, maybe you're shy. Maybe you don't want to share with me your goals. It's okay. Gabi, you're saying this has been quite difficult, but what, the year has been difficult, but we managed to go ahead with my classes. Okay, share with me. Yeah, you know, some people have had more difficult years than others, but it's the little things that we achieve, don't we? I mean, for example, I decided that I need to break things down, and I haven't learned yet, but you know, we always talk about the small achievements. If we can every day say, what did I do today? At the end of the day, and say, what was the one good thing I did today? And did I manage to do what I set out to do? And if you did, or if you managed to even just do half of it, we should always put, you know, pat ourselves in the back and say, you know, well done, we did it. And then move on and not dwell on the things that we haven't achieved. So it's the same with business English, with your learning. You know, we want to learn so much, and certainly if you are someone who has got a growth mindset, we want to learn so much, we want to learn and we want to do so much. And it can be overwhelming. And sometimes it's easy to focus on the things we haven't done. But actually when we look back, we need to think about what have we done? You know, how have we achieved it? Have we achieved it? Has it been good? What did we do? And sometimes I need to sit down and think that, because it's too easy to look at other people and say, oh, they achieved this and I didn't. Yeah. So when you're reflecting on this, look at the positives and not only the negatives. In terms of also your business English, your learning, did you put enough time into your learning? Maybe could you improve on it? What would you like to see different next year? You know, these are all ideas and thoughts that you can put in. And when I share with you my EWAT planner, this will be even better, because you then, you know, really are able to reflect. You know, I keep a series of different books like these, and I'm always making notes and things. And I've kept a few where I've done it over 6 months. And it's always nice to go back and leaf through it. And then you suddenly realize, oh gosh, actually I've done quite a lot here. Wow, you know, and then a year on, and maybe some things didn't actually happen. You had an idea, but it didn't happen, but that's fine. Maybe it could happen in 2 years' time. and other things instead happened. And so there are lots of things that, you know, and you think, okay, no, that was good. And it's so important to always remind yourself of the good things and then look at the things that you could have done and then ask yourself, well, what stopped you? And was it something that was inevitable, or could it have been prevented? And then what is the next, how are you going to change it for the following year? There's a lot of reflection going on there. And I think, you know, this time of year especially this time of year is when a lot of people do that. So share with me. So Gabby, you said this has been quite difficult. We managed to go ahead with your classes. Okay, what was it? Because classes was not because what? Because you didn't have enough clients or students, or you know, what was the situation? Nabil, thank you very much. It's a pleasure for you to. I'm so glad you're joining this sessions, the weekly sessions. But yes, what have been your successes and what have been your less of a success in 2017? Share with me, or otherwise make a note of it yourself, and then you can reflect on it. Right, okay, so now as we are talking business English, we're talking about English and how to develop your vocabulary. Let's look at the other words you could use instead of just reflecting. So don't forget, with the verb reflect, we often use reflect on something, to reflect on. You know, I'm reflecting on the year, or I'm reflecting on the year ahead, you know, so we always use that preposition. The noun, of course, for reflect is reflection. And what would the adjective be? The adjective would be reflective. Yeah, so whenever you're looking at words, try and have a look at also the other parts of speech. What do I mean by parts of speech? I mean, if you're looking at a verb, have a look at what the noun is of that verb. Maybe it doesn't have one, or maybe it does. What is the adjective? What is the adverb? That's why a monolingual dictionary is always incredibly important to have, because it develops your language even more than just a bilingual dictionary. Hi Rakesh, nice to see you. Yes, I'm well, and you? Right, okay. So I found 8 synonyms. Now this is a post I wrote a year ago, actually, when I was writing about reflecting on the year. And so we have 8 synonyms, but feel free to, if you found other synonyms, to share them with me, because I might not have seen them. Now, if ever you are looking for synonyms, antonyms, which are the opposites, it's always a good idea to have also a thesaurus. A thesaurus gives you so much more when you're trying to expand your language and your vocabulary. So always have these. You now have online versions, and they're a great way for you to expand your language. So that's a great way of doing that. I see, Gabby, talking about classes go up and down. So in terms of supply and demand, right? So you have many classes one point, and then they go down. Yeah, that's the fluctuating pattern, I think, of teaching, coaching. We have lean months, as we say, lean as in quiet months, and then we have busy months. Yeah, and I think most teachers have that. They say that January is also, for example, quiet month, when people are getting back into work and they are preparing for the year ahead, and so they are thinking about that. So there you go. Right, number 1, the first synonym I found was consider. So instead of using reflect, we can also use the word consider. Now, different ways how we consider. You're reflecting on something. So your reflection is you're going back and looking at what was good and what was not. But you can also consider the year you've had. Or, maybe you're thinking about, because you see the word reflect on, if you look at a dictionary, it says it means to think carefully about possibilities and opinions. So the synonyms that I've chosen here have a similar meaning. So if you consider something, so often we talk about considering your options. Say for example, you have been offered, you finished university, or you finished a degree, or you've left a job, or maybe you've been made redundant, unfortunately. And you then start thinking, you consider your options, because someone might ask you, so what now? What are you going to do? And you think, well, you're thinking over. Yeah, nice phrasal verb there, Gabriela, is to think something over. So you're considering your options, or you need to consider your position in a company, or I'm going to consider, so you're going to think about it, think it over. Yes, very nice. Yes, so consider is a good synonym. So you can consider your options, you need to consider your position. So consider is to think about or think it over. So someone will say, look, this is my proposition, think it over, or reflect on it, or consider it. So different words you can use. The next word, synonym 2, is ponder. So how we spell it is P-O-N, and I'm going to write it down for you. Ponder. And again, the word we use often with ponder is to ponder over something. So we ponder over, again, your options. I'm pondering over my options. I often find the person pondering over the decisions he's made over the years. I'm pondering over the decisions. So the word to ponder, but if you're looking at it as a transitive verb. Now, when I talk about a transitive verb, I mean a verb that takes an object. So you ponder over something. But you can just ponder. Oh, I'm just sitting and pondering. I'm thinking. But you ponder over. Yeah, so you ponder over something. Meditate is also another word. In fact, I brought it up, and that's one other synonym we have, Gabby. So thank you for sharing that. So you ponder over something. So when you're using it with a object, you will use the word over. Ponder over something. Or you're just pondering. You're thinking. The third synonym is to deliberate. Now, deliberate. Now, deliberate here is the verb. Note it is not the adjective, which is deliberate. You did this deliberately, or adverb, deliberately, or deliberate. That is a different pronunciation, okay? So you've got deliberate, deliberately. That's adjective and adverb. No, here I'm talking about the verb, and the pronunciation is different. It's deliberate, deliberate. So note the syllable stress is deliberate, deliberate, deliberate. So the syllable stress is deliberate, deliberate, deliberate. So think of where that syllable stress is. If we're deliberating, here the preposition we use is to deliberate on. Now, when we say the word deliberate, deliberate. Very nice. Thank you, May. Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing the phonetic sound there. So you can see there's that little dash. That is the syllable stress. Deliberate, deliberate. Brilliant. Thank you so much. So you deliberate on something. Now, the verb is often used when we're talking about politicians or maybe shareholders or chairman of companies. Then they're deliberating on proposals, or they're deliberating on, they're taking a while to think about things through. So they're deliberating on the decision, or they're deliberating on the critical issue of equal pay. Yeah, so they're thinking about it, they're discussing it, and so when we're deliberating on something, it means also that they're thinking about it, but there's also discussion going on. Yeah, but whereas when I ponder and when I reflect, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm discussing it with anyone. But to deliberate on something suggests that there is a group of people who are deliberating and discussing something. So the politicians are deliberating on the latest tax bill. So for example, yesterday we heard the House of Representatives passed a tax legislation in the state. But they had been deliberating on that legislation for many months. So deliberating, thinking about it, discussing it. So that is what we would use. So yes, social deliberations. Thank you very much. Good word, which is the noun. Deliberation is the noun of deliberate. Great. Excellent. So there is your synonym. The fourth synonym here is to contemplate. You probably know this word. You've probably used it. You're contemplating. And often when we look at it in business, companies are contemplating. Say you take a business that's contemplating on whether to open a subsidiary in another country. So you are contemplating on whether to do that. So again, you're contemplating on what to do, on whether to do something. Yeah, but you can also contemplate your client's reactions. I used to contemplate my client's reactions. But you're contemplating on something, or you can just contemplate because you're thinking about it. So if you're contemplating on something, it means you're weighing up the options. Here again, you're thinking over the options, you're pondering over your options to see whether something is a good idea or not. We also talk about contemplate. Also has the noun contemplation. And you may have come across the words, sometimes people say, well, he likes to spend a few hours in quiet contemplation. So contemplation has also that, that idea that you're sitting quietly and thinking things through. You're thinking things over. You're reflecting on things. You are considering things. You're pondering. So many different words we have to see this. So you're contemplating. But I'm also contemplating on, going to China next year. So you're thinking about it. You're contemplating. Contemplating is thinking about it in more detail, discussing it with people, making a few plans, so that there's that different meaning. And what I want you to do with all these words is make a note of these words, and I will go over them again, and have a look at when you're reading or when you're listening to people and you see these words again or you hear these words, note how it's used in the language. Look at the context. For example, deliberate. Where do you see it? Is it mainly in political situations? Is it mainly in where they're deliberating on a decision that has to be made? Contemplation, where do you see that? And make a note of those examples, because the more you see where the examples are, where those words are used, they then make more sense and they're easier to remember. Because just remembering a bunch of words and verbs is not enough. You will never remember them. Why? Because they don't have any meaning to you. They do not resonate. Whereas if you see them in a sentence, you see them in context or something you've been reading that you're interested in, you are more likely to remember it because it resonates with you. Because it affects you. Because maybe you're reading about a particular topic you're interested in, maybe whatever piece you've read is really interesting, so you remember it more. And when you see those words in there, you're more likely to remember them. And if you like them, again, like I've always said time and time again to yourselves, is make a note of that. Always have a journal next to you. Always have a notepad next to you when you're using your English. Constantly be on the lookout, you know, so that you see something here, I like that, let me use that, like try and emulate it. Make a note of it. You will forget it. You're bound to forget it. We all do. But then the next time you see it, you'll think, yeah, I like that. How can I try and use it again? That's the way we develop slowly the language. And that is the way we also learned our own language. Practicing it, playing with it, trying it out. Yeah, it can't just be absorbed and it sits there. No, it is only through playing with that language, testing it, trying it out that you learn. Okay, we've contemplated this. Now let's look at synonym 7, which is, as Gabi said, meditate. Now, meditate, you might say, oh, Shadi, meditate doesn't mean to reflect on something. But you know, now we talk a lot about mindfulness, we talk about meditation, and often people use meditation as a way to clear their mind of a lot of busyness, a lot of noise that goes on in our minds, to clear our mind and to focus on just one thing, to meditate. So that meditation is meditating that time on just one thing and clearing everything else. That helps also when you're concentrating on breathing. Apparently it helps you to meditate. I haven't really experimented on this, so I do hope some of you are expert meditators and you can give me a tip or two on how to do this. I really need to learn this meditation. But you know, you could say after a hard day's work, I often need to meditate. So meditated is, you know, the exercise is all about reflecting, thinking, contemplating. You can just imagine that. You know, you see the yogis, you see a lot of people, you know, sit and reflect and they meditate. And that's another way of using it. Of course, as I say, that's why context is so important. You know, you can use meditate and it is a synonym, but it depends on the context. You know, you're not going to say the politicians are meditating on, you know, the next piece of legislation, because that doesn't sound right. I mean, meditating? Really? What do you mean? No, you're not going to use it. So meditating has a similar meaning in terms of thinking, but has a different context. So that's why it's so important, this context of knowing how to use these words in the right way. But as I say, testing it, trying it, making that mistake is what will get you to remember it. So don't be afraid of testing it and having someone correct you and say, actually, we don't use that word in that sense. We use it in this sense. Oh, thank you very much. You're not going to look silly. You're not going to look foolish. Because if someone doesn't correct you and you haven't tried, how are you going to learn? You know, we all test. We all try. It's riding a bicycle, going for a run. If you don't try it, you're never going to know, or you're never going to learn the right technique. We can be safe and say, well, I'm never going to do it unless I know it perfectly. Well, we're not going to know it perfectly unless we try. So, you know, so I always say, please test it. Test it with people. Even if it's slightly a mistake. I do it so many times in Italian, for example. I'll say something and then someone will burst out laughing. I do feel silly, of course. I go, oh gosh, what did I say? They go, oh, Shanti, you know, we don't quite say it that way. Because, you know, I'm thinking in English and I think, oh, really? Oh, okay. Now, I'm going to remember that. Because, yeah, maybe I felt a bit foolish. But, hey, you know, nobody's died. So, but that just makes you remember it more. So, you know, again, the synonyms are great, but you need to know also when and how to use them. So testing it out yourself, reading, being aware, making notes, always, always very important. You know, the lessons here, any resources you ever use, everyone is always asking for resources, but the resources are great, but absorbing passively the language is wonderful. But you're never going to take that next step to progress unless you take on board that language and actually activate it and use it. May, you've just said, in my experience, I usually take a passage from the Bible, okay, then meditate deeply. Sometimes I do it with Christian music or simply be silent and reflect on something, right? That sounds really great. Yeah, I mean, and people have different ways, and you have this way. You usually take it, okay, then you meditate. Yeah, and I know I had a client, a coaching client, a few years ago who came to stay here with us, and I was teaching him here at my homestay. And, you know, this is what he did. Every evening he meditated. I had another client who's a very well-known fashion designer in Italy. He is passionate about philosophy, and he has a lot of quiet time where he meditates. And this is it. So you're silent, you reflect on things. I'm not a great one for that, but I'm a great one where I need silence. And it might just be my quiet time where I read, I do some reading, or I just, you know, sit and ponder over things. So yes, so there's plenty of words we use and practice. But great, May, that's wonderful. Vasiliki, hi, as you say, better late than never. So lovely of you to join the class. Yes, so meditation is a great way. People have different ways of meditating, and it can take all sorts of forms. And yes, Philosophy Vasiliki, yes, I will introduce you to him. He's great. His biggest, the person he really follows is Marcus Aurelius, and his works. He's always quoting from him. I mean, and his work was Meditations, his book. Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor, just in case anyone's wondering what I'm talking about here. Sorry, this is a conversation between Vasiliki and me. Sorry, everyone. All right, so we're at number 5. That was meditate. Number 6 is to mull something over. Yeah, to mull something over. So it's the spelling is mull, M-U-L-L. Let me write that down. Mull something over. So let me mull things over, right? Now this is I think it's a British English. I may be wrong. I'm not too sure whether it's British English or not, or could be. I will double check and let you know. Yes, like mulled wine. Oh no, don't talk to me about mulled wine, please. I'm trying to be good this week. Yes, to mull something over. You're mulling over. And you know, you're thinking about it. So it's mulling in your mind, and it's going over in your mind. So thank you for your offer. I'm going to need a few days to mull things over. So to reflect on it, to contemplate, to think about it, you know, to consider it. Lots of different language that you can use there. So let me mull things over. So if you hear someone say that, that is what they mean. It is a phrasal verb, yes. To mull something over. And it's always let me mull this over. You know, mull things over, or mull. Often it's mull things over that we say. Oh, let me mull things over. Oh, let me mull it over, and then I'll come back to you. Yeah, so you're thinking about it. Number 7, which is informal, and it is a idiomatic phrasal verb, which is to chew over something. Sometimes we talk about chew over the fat. That's an idiomatic expression, to chew over the fat. Here, but you don't always hear chew over the fat. People will go, let me chew it over. Chew it over. So you can just imagine, right? You put it in your mouth and you start chewing. And you know, as you're eating, you're thinking about it. Oh, let me think about it. Yeah, spending time thinking about it carefully. Yes. Yeah, Vasiliki, to consider it, thinking over along with a glass. We're talking mulled wine here again. So mulling it over. So let me mull. As I'm sipping my glass of wine, I'm going to think about this. Or as I'm chewing my food, you're going to chew over the idea. So again, let me chew it over. But that's informal. You're not necessarily going to see it in journalistic English or in the newspapers, but you will see it as it is an idiomatic phrase, and some people will use it. So, you know, you might hear it, or people might use it as a phrasal verb, and then you think, oh yeah, I know what they mean. Let me chew it over. Yeah, okay, great. For, you know, so officials meet regularly to chew over the future of the the company, but often we say chew over the fat. Weird. Yes, and finally, as Vasiliki says, analyze, to analyze something. So we need to analyze the figures accurately, or we need to analyze the situation carefully before we make a decision. Analyzing in this situation, in these contexts, it is to do with thinking over something, thinking about it, consider it, reflect on it, whether it's going to be the right decision to make or not, and what are the pros and cons. What is, what are the consequences of that situation? So we are analyzing. So we analyze the situation. Let us analyze the problem. So you're thinking about it. So lots of wonderful synonyms here, which in different contexts will mean something. A lot of them have similar meaning. Thinking about consider, ponder, contemplate, analyze, mull things over, chew things over, or chew it over. Yeah, meditate, slightly different way of using it, but contemplating certainly, contemplating is similar to reflecting. Deliberate, to deliberate is more where we're having that discussion. Yes, and it's used in certain contexts. Yeah, I'm deliberating on whether to do something. That is quite official. So when you're saying, I'm deliberating on whether to do that, oh gosh, that's very formal and very official. What are you doing that? Oh, well, I need to do that. Yes, but normally you wouldn't use it. But we would use it in more formal circumstances or more official circumstances. So let me recap these 8 synonyms to the verb reflect, or to reflect on. You consider. So considering your options, considering your position, you're thinking about it. Ponder over something. You're pondering over your decisions again, or you're pondering over your options. Again, we use the same way. To deliberate on, as we said, the committee took 3 days to deliberate on the issue before making their decision. The House of Representatives deliberated on the tax bill for many months before finally passing the bill. So that's where we use it. So very different from deliberate. So we looked at also the pronunciation of the adjective and the adverb. So deliberate, deliberately. So those are 2 different pronunciations. But we have deliberate as the verb and deliberation as the noun. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm very... So we have contemplate as the verb. So contemplation, I like to spend some time in quiet contemplation. Again, that has a similar meaning to meditation and reflection, quiet reflection. So those 3 have similar meanings to each other. So meditate, again, meditation. Mulling something over is to think about something over. Someone has asked you to consider something and you're now going to mull it over, consider it. Yeah? Or chew over the fat, or chew over something that's informal. And finally, you analyze something. So we're analyzing things. So you have 8 synonyms and you have reflect. So plenty of words to use when you start thinking back, reflecting on 2017. And I do hope you feel brave enough to share with me your 2017, how successful it was, maybe not as successful, why, how are things going to change in 2018, what could have moved, what couldn't have moved. Yeah, great. Thank you, Vasiliki. Great. Thank you for putting all that on the list. I will share the link to the post I wrote last year that will share you with all those words and those synonyms. But yeah, reflection at this time of year is very important, to look back. But now we need to also look forward. So as I said, lots of exciting things going to be happening at English with a Twist for 2018. As I say, straight into 2018, in mid-January, we're going to have Small Talk to Go. I'm relaunching that ebook. you will have the ebook, the workbook, and the audiobook. That way you get to not only see those dialogues, those scenarios, you get to also practice, put them into practice using the workbook, but you also get to hear that conversation, those conversations, to hear how the intonation, the rhythm, the stress, so you know where the pauses are, so that you can, and that in that way it will allow you also to imitate that. So when you hear it, try imitating, because when we use the imitation technique, it's a great way for you to gain the practice listening and also practice your pronunciation by using the imitation technique. So that will be coming out in mid-January. Beginning of February, we're looking at the EWAT Planner. So as I mentioned before, reflections, we're going to be looking, I'm going to help you where, you know, to really succeed well and maintain your success in business English, you need to plan, and you need to plan it well. Not think about how little time you have, but how you can fit your planning, your learning into the time you have. And by putting it on black on white, writing it down and doing that, that is the way that you are going to see things progress. And I'm going to help you with the EWAT Planner on how you can see that progress. There will be also self-evaluation forms, but I'll be talking more about that at the end of January, beginning of February. March comes along and we're going to have the Business Writing to Fluency Lab. So I'll tell you all more about that. That will be a 4-week program, not a 2-week. So giving you more time, because I had a lot of my participants gave me that feedback. So lots to have going on. And of course, April, May, phrasal verbs, that wonderful phrasal verbs in business. How we're going to be using phrasal verbs in business. And I'm going to be sharing with you different scenarios. Again, it's going to be an ebook with an audiobook. So lots to do. But this is all for me. I want to thank you, all of you, Gabi, Vasiliki, Giovanni, Rakesh, every one of you who's been with me, Priya, and anybody else who didn't make it for this class, anyone listening to the recording. I want to say a big, huge thank you very, very much for having followed me right through this year, 2017. You make all my efforts and everything I do worthwhile. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being friends. Thank you for being wonderful EWATers. I wish you a very, very wonderful Christmas. EWAT is away now until I will be back for Wednesdays with EWAT. We'll be back on the 10th of January, Wednesday the 10th. But we're back in business from the 8th of January. So the weekly lessons, the last weekly lesson on the blog will be this Friday, and then we take 2 weeks off. I'm off to Milan to be with my mom and my family, and I can't wait. It's going to be a wonderful week in Milan. Then I'm back. So, but in the meantime, I want to wish you all a wonderful Christmas if you celebrate it. Happy Hanukkah to my Jewish followers, my Russian Orthodox, Greek Orthodox followers. Happy Christmas. I know it will be after our the other Christmas, our Christmas. So Merry Christmas and a wonderful, wonderful New Year for 2018. I can't wait to start 2018 with all of you. So I look forward to seeing you on the 10th of January, 3 p.m. GMT. In the meantime, this is me blowing you all a kiss. Thank you very much for sharing with me. Thank you for being there. And thank you for being you guys. Take care. Ciao for now.